Hi everyone, welcome to the Sunday Social. Should be a very fun show today. We're going to be talking all about watch tools and accessories we can't live without. But before that, we should definitely start with a wristwatch check. So, Pete, what are you wearing? From Pete McConville.
Today, I think I'm wearing the same I might have been last time. Breitling Super Ocean 44 in bronze.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
So there you go. So that's just got back from running with the dog down the beach. Perfect running with the dog down the beach watch.
I haven't seen that in their advertising, but they should add that.
Yeah, it's actually probably fits nicely with what they're trying to sell.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Patrick, what are you wearing?
Well, in similar fashion, I am rocking a brown dialed bronze watch myself.
Ooh.
So just trying to copy Pete, but wearing my my new Christmas present from my wife, my Black Bay 58 bronze.
Actually, Pete, is that bronze or is it just bronze coloured?
No, it's bronze.
Okay. Oh, well.
But it's like all of them. They've all got their own special mixes. This one's patinaing really gently.
Oh, nice.
It's not like an Oris that goes black the next day.
Dave, what are you wearing tonight?
Tonight I have got on a Girard Perregaux Casquette 2.
Oh,
Ooh.
I think we've seen that before, haven't
Fun.
we? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because I thought that was a Bulliver. Wow.
Bulova they do a similar kind of driver style, whatever you want to call it, watch as well. They brought out a few years ago actually, but yeah, this is the little GP one.
But that's a mechanical. It's not an LCD, or is it?
No, it's LCD.
Oh, it is. Oh, wow. Oh, cool.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. It's got LCD. What's it got on? It's got quite a few functions actually. It's got date, watch, alarm clock, chronograph, and a thing called secret date where you can put birthdays and things in, and the day before when you go to look at the time, it will remind you that date's coming up.
Oh, that is handy, actually.
Yeah,
It's
well,
quite
that's
clever.
fun.
It's
I
quite
didn't know it
clever.
had a hidden chronograph in there. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, it's got GMT function as well. It's got 2 time zones.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's quite cool, and it's full ceramic, and it's ceramic case, ceramic bracelet, titanium clasp, and titanium on the underside just against the wrist. So it's a pretty nice piece.
Not messing around with the hardware there.
No, it's not. And actually, I guess depends where your value proposition sits at, but it's definitely the most inexpensive Girard Perregaux you'll come across, certainly in the new catalogue. I think they were about 3,600 UK. I think it was about 4,800 US. So some folk will say that's loony money for a digital watch, but then on the same hand, it is a Girard Perregaux custom caliber as well. It's not just an off-the-shelf job. It's a nice little caliber on it. Ceramic and titanium. They made 833 of them, I think it is. So it's not a huge number either. So yeah, it's pretty. In my opinion, it's pretty strong value actually proposition for what it is.
Yeah, wow. And before we move on to Mark, Dave, I've got to plug the latest Nico interview that you did on Scottish Watches. I was listening to it yesterday. Awesome. There's some great. It's good because it's got Nico's background in it, but there's some really cool stuff towards the end, isn't there, about the Swiss watch industry, which I won't spoil for everyone, but you should definitely listen to it.
Well, thank you for that. If you enjoyed that, then you will enjoy tomorrow's, because the incident or the topics you were mentioning at the end of that, we have the source of that whole issue on Monday's episode.
Yeah, and this could be quite the big alleged scandal, couldn't it? Yes, people should definitely listen to it. I won't spoil it for everyone.
I mean, we've not mentioned what it is, so it is absolutely a scandal. But if we say what it is, it's definitely allegedly a scandal. But yeah, I mean, it's an absolute. It is. I mean, it's not anything that anybody should be particularly surprised about, but let's just say a lot of those nefarious goings on are becoming more and more public, and it was only a matter of time at the end of the day for these things to start getting aired a little bit, shall we say. But yeah,
Yeah, and actually probably feeds into our topic because Scottish Watches is definitely a good tool for watch collectors, I would say. Definitely learning the background of everything in the interviews. Mark, go on. What you wearing tonight?
I have a Stratton Sportiva with
Okay.
Cool.
golf racing colours.
Nice.
It's really cool. It's weird. The way you're holding that, it almost looks like a digital screen.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Hey,
like a
is that better?
smartwatch.
Yeah, it does. It's
Yeah.
cool. Really nice colours.
I was actually thinking it looks like an Apple Watch with a skin.
No, this is a VK64 movement, so the movement's not the best. I agree with Sam that it needs a running second, and the 24-hour time zone is a real waste of time. But the golf colours are just classic blue and orange motor racing colours.
Yeah, absolutely. And
And it's got,
Chris, Chris, who I do the
got a-
podcast with, does a NATO. He has a NATO strap company called Campagnato Club that does all NATO straps in racing colours, and one of them is that Gulf racing colour. So you should check it out.
And it's got
Campagnato Club.
the bracelet is a sort of unusual metal rally style, so it's got the holes in the links,
Oh yeah.
and it's extremely comfortable, believe it or not.
The
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
And
like
you know, the clasp has got enough micro adjust to get the perfect fit. So yeah, really nice little one.
You know where there's a really good metal rally strap in the film, the original Shaft film, that he wears in that. Yeah, awesome rally. But except his is that one where it's one piece of metal either side. So anyway, Todd, what are you wearing?
I am going one that's heavy in the rotation, the Black Bay Heritage 41, the one that gets a lot of flack because it's big and slab-sided, but I love it.
And that's
Cool
the
watch.
ETA ones.
No. This is the one with the in-house movement.
Oh wow, okay.
Not
Yeah.
Is that a straight line or not a smiley face?
No,
That's straight
smiling,
line.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. The movement is wonderful on it. I had a little funny thing with it. I got it secondhand from another guy, and the bezel popped off when I was sleeping one night. And people were making fun of me and thought, "Oh, that didn't happen. You're making that up to get a hype on the Tudor watch groups." I'm like, no, it genuinely just popped off while I was sleeping. And I was so pleased because I got it secondhand, and when I took it to my local AD, they shipped it off. Came back to me, they had re-regulated the movement. It's running like within 1 or 2 seconds, and it looks beautiful. And there was zero charge for anything, and I was just tickled pink. So, big fan.
Awesome. Compliments are already coming in, Todd. Todd has the best mustache on YouTube.
Thank you very much, Frank.
I'm going to do a little plug for an upcoming review, but I am wearing it's a Sega design and it's called a Blue Planet. It's hard to tell here, but the globe revolves and tells the time. I won't spoil it here, but it looks extremely complicated to tell the time. But once you understand how it works, it's actually very, very easy to tell the time. So I won't spoil it here, but yeah, Sega Designs Blue Planet watch upcoming review very soon.
It's a GPHG job, that isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah, they had it. They submitted.
Cool watch that.
Yeah, the case is awesome as well. It comes in like a book, so you open up the book and then the watch is separate. This is the second Sega Designs that I've reviewed. It's a Chinese company. The first one was a titanium sort of skeletonized watch, but they did a great job of that as well. But yeah, it's actually got the GPHG on the back.
Okay, I'm gonna.
It's about, I think it's about £1,000, isn't it? UK.
Yeah.
It's a cool watch that.
Very
I'll
interested
do
in
a
the
full review
review.
of how it works. It's got a standard movement, and it's not got a special movement to make the mechanism work. So, yeah,
it's cool.
I'm looking forward to that because I've always not been really clear on Sega Designs. They sort of seemed like a Pagani kind of thing there for a minute. So,
yeah, they've got one that well, they're one of the few. I've been cutting down doing a lot of the micro brands, but I suppose they're not technically a micro brand, but it's definitely whenever they ask me to do one, I jump to it. Okay, so let's start our show. So we are going to go through. We've each got 3 tools or accessories that we think we can't live without in our watch collection. So they're not watches; they are tools that we use or things that we find useful. So I'm gonna go through. We'll do one each, and then we'll just keep going around if that's okay. And Dave, I'm gonna actually start with you if that's okay. And your first one was this loop. And why do you pick this specific one, and why do you like it?
So you'll find most of, well, in fact, all of my selections are, I guess, relatively specialist tools. There's a lot of loops out there that folk have, and usually they are, here's a cheap loop that's free, chuck it in with a purchase or chuck it in a watch box or whatever, and they're usually 1.5 to 3 generally in terms of their strength. But getting a set of really good quality loops that have got no distortion on them are amazing, especially if you're doing anything more intricate. So these ones are absolutely fantastic quality. They've got really good, properly ground lenses. They're protected lenses. So if you want a loop, do yourself a favour, buy yourself a decent one, because most of the free ones out there are absolute junk.
Yeah, I couldn't find a price on this, but what kind of region is this in? What would this set you back?
The painful region. They range, depending the lowest, I think they go from about £60 up to, in the high magnification ones, some of them are up into a few £100.
Okay.
Oh.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
yeah, not bad.
they're not, I mean, I'm a bit of a tool pervert, it has to be said, for many things, but like I will always buy the best tools that I can possibly get my hands on, just because if a bad workman blames their tools, but if you get good tools you can't, and if you get bad tools, the best, you wouldn't trust a surgeon with a bad knife, would you?
That's true. That's true. Yeah, and I suppose the other thing as well with a risk with a high magnification loop, I've just got a high magnification macro lens that I've been doing some shots with, and even the most perfectly finished watch, you can still find a little bit of a little bit of something on there, but it's definitely useful.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't get stressed out about finding little things like that.
Yeah.
Like when you're looking at them under 15, 20, 25 times magnification, you're like, what difference does it make? Because like the chance, you won't see it with the naked eye, and these are handmade things, and actually, to a degree, scruffy tool marks where someone slipped with a screwdriver or something like that would piss me off, to be fair.
Yeah.
But tool marks or little finishing marks that you get, that's just part of the parcel. When you hand finish something, if you want it to be absolutely spotless, get a machine to do it, and it will probably be spotless, but it will be pretty clinical and pretty soulless.
Yeah, exactly. Does anyone else have a high magnification loop that they use?
I don't have a high magnification loop, but I have a pair of spectacles that when they come down in unison, they magnify. So I think it's a 3 and a 5, and so I think it makes about a 15 when it goes together. So, and if you want to see me look really dorky, someday I'll wear it for you guys.
Oh, well, you've teased it now. That's the treat. Well, next up then, I'll do one of mine scenes I've got there. I'm going to go with these fat spring bars. They've got a funny name, but they're basically normal size spring bars, but they're like the thickness of the Seiko ones. They're a 2.5 mil in diameter, and the reason that I love these is because they are solid. There's a bigger spring in them as well. So if I'm wearing a watch on a NATO strap, I only trust these to have it on the NATO strap, because I think I'm of the belief that yes, a NATO strap will save a watch from breaking a spring bar, but also I think that NATO straps also cause spring bars to fail, but that's just a complete unscientific point of view from me. But I like these, very thick and great for putting a NATO on a normal watch, and they're the same thickness as the Seiko dive ones, except the Seiko dive ones have a bit of a fatter end, whereas these have got the right tip for a normal watch. So,
well, I would say to you, you're definitely correct in your supposition about NATO straps, because a spring bar on a normal strap is supported right round it, and at each end it pushes against it. If you use a normal spring bar with a NATO strap, a NATO spring bar is pulling down only on one side. So having that fatter one the fatter bit won't necessarily help. The stronger spring will definitely help.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and these have got a real. They take some force to get in and out as well.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of these. You can find that this is Crown and Buckle, but you can find them on Amazon as well. And I'll leave a link to anything in the comment section down below as well. I'll leave a link to everything in the comment section down below if you're watching this after the fact. Okay.
That's going to get you that's going to get you pretty close to like a solder bar that you would, you really should put on if you're going to use a NATO strap. Is you should solder the bars in, but most folk aren't going to do that to their watches.
Yeah, exactly. And also, they're the same thickness as the Seiko Dive ones, but the Seiko Dive ones don't have the lip on them. So they're a real bugger to get off. Whereas these ones have the double collar on the end, so you can get them off with a normal strap removal tool.
There will be many a person who's put a Seiko one onto a normal watch without drilled lugs and then lived to regret that.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, next up, Patrick, this is one of yours. This is your Admiral Safino 3-slot watch roll.
Well, I have to apologize for my choices today because I'm at my mother-in-law's house and I don't have any cool gadgets in front of me. And every tool that I actually own, you can't buy on the internet because they're all old and vintage. So, I've got a pair of cool hand removers and some other interesting things that I use for pocket watches, but I don't tinker with my wristwatches. So, I'll take pocket watches apart, but wristwatches, I just leave them alone. If the watchmaker is needed, I go see a pro. But when it comes down to the other accessories that I can tell kind of everybody else about, I've got my non-sponsored plugs because they're all things that I have. And so I've got this little Saffiano watch roll, and I think they upped their price. I think when I got it, it was about $100. And what I liked about it then was just it was an inexpensive, decent quality watch roll, and you really just need something to be able to travel. I mean, I spend a lot of long weeks away from my family when we're doing our different work shifts and stuff like that, and this is my way of bringing 2 or 3 watches with me just so that I hey, at work I can't be the watch guy who only wears the same watch every day. So you gotta shake it up a little bit. And as I said, this allows me to have 2 or 3 choices. And what I like about it, and here's where I get a little snickety about like some people who buy these really expensive $800-900 watch rolls. If you buy a $900 watch roll, then you got to take care of it. You buy something that's good quality but doesn't cost that much. Like, I don't care if this thing gets scratched. I throw this thing in my luggage and something happens to it. Who cares? It's there to protect the watches. I'm not there to protect the case. And that's just my 2 cents on storage devices. But if anyone's looking for a watch roll, maybe you can find it a little cheaper because they used to be. It's a really decent brand and it's really pretty good for the money you spend on it. Just my take on owning it personally for about a year. I like it.
Yeah, I've got a Mirage one as well, but I can't tell from the picture, but this looks like you can take the watches out individually instead of some of them that come on you can't get them off individually. You've got to remove them all out. But this one, it looks like they come out each one individually.
Yeah, they just snap in, and as I said, you can I've probably taken Instagram photos with them in the little holder that they come in because it's kind of a convenient way to just move your watches around. So yeah, they snap in.
Awesome. Does anyone else have a watch roll that they use? Oh.
Yeah, I'm the same as you in the respect of I want a well-designed, good quality watch roll, but I'm not willing to spend hundreds or potentially verging on thousands on it when you think, Jesus Christ, like it's meant to protect the watches. You're not meant to then buy another bag to protect the watch bag.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think I forget I was watching something and I think it was maybe Timepiece Gentleman or something, and he had a Louis Vuitton one, but it all came out in one piece. Yeah. But
I mean, I guess the thing is as well, some of the more expensive ones, they're actually not that well designed. The only things I look for in a watch roll is that you've got, like on that, you've got decent bumper dividers that stops the crowns of slamming into the sides of the watch beside it. So that actually does separate the watches. So many of these 2 and 3 roll ones don't. Or the insides of the studs are metal and exposed. That just makes me cringe every time I see that. Ones that don't have covered backs to the poppers. But there's so many of them out there that are like that. You just think, Jesus, it's so badly designed.
I just reuse my old the little lens socks that you get when you buy a new lens for a camera.
Yeah.
So I just basically you get a watch, wrap it up in a sock, stick it in that, and then I just carry it around in those little lens containers. And that way, if I'm traveling, it just goes in the camera bag with all the other camera stuff.
It's funny you say that. Actually, what I do most of the time of all things, I've got like I once treated myself to a nice pair of sunglasses, and it came in this nice box, just like the sunglasses had a pouch, and then it was just a nice, really stiff, solid cardboard box, size of a set of sunglasses, so literally like, the size of like a sunglass, like that. And I've got these foam pieces, like round cut pieces of foam. I just put the watches in that, and I put them in little electrostatic discharge bags that you get for like electronic components.
Yeah.
And I put 2 watches in that box, shove it in my bag. It's totally discreet because nobody ever looks twice at it because they just assume it's a cardboard box. So sometimes it's a cardboard box with pretty expensive watches in it, but it's good for going through airports and stuff because no one even turns a blind eye to it.
Yeah.
I use the Christopher Ward service pods.
Yeah, they're good.
Oh yeah.
I think they sell them, or they did sell them as an accessory. And it's a nice little zip plastic pod. And
Yeah, the Omega ones
expensive.
are good, aren't they? The Omega do some decent ones as well.
Yeah, they look like red glasses cases.
They do. Yeah.
Yeah, they've got a new one out now though, which is really cool, but it's also ridiculously over-engineered. It's like a little square box now. And the watch pops in and it all folds over like a little origami box. They're really nice.
Oh, they stole that from Breitling, didn't they? Haven't Breitling got an origami box?
It's kind of similar to that, yeah. It's not dissimilar
This is
to
the Omega
that.
one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's the ones that we're using up until a year or so ago.
Yep.
Awesome.
Just shows I have had to have one of my Omegas serviced.
And there's a bunch of those on eBay, as well, and they're not silly prices. Those Omega service ones.
Not like the Rolex service pouches, which go for a fortune for what they are.
Yeah, or the tomb cases, the plastic tomb cases where the warranty goes in it. Okay, next up, Mark, you're up, and yours was the Bergeon watch crown winder tool. This is interesting. I've not heard of these before.
This came to me as a recommendation on one of the forums because I was complaining how hard it was to wind a Speedmaster Mark II, where you have to turn the case over, and it's still a pain to wind because the crown doesn't stick out that far from the case, and the shape of the case means you can't get your fingers on to wind it. And this one was recommended because it's got a soft elastomer end, so it doesn't scratch anything. But I also find it helps with Globemaster as well.
So it's friction. So it doesn't go completely over the crown. It's just friction.
Just friction drive. Yeah.
I didn't know these existed.
And no, I didn't. It came as a surprise to me. But sort of if you ever see in a boutique or a dealership, some of the staff there winding the watches, they turn them over, so it's easier to actually get them to wind, and that's the trick. But this helps as well.
They're also good for they're good if you've got the movement out and you've got the movement in a movement holder for actually just winding up the watch while you're servicing it.
I mean, if I ever had a movement out of a watch, something has gone terribly wrong, and it'll never go back with all the bits it came out with. I can guarantee that.
That depends if we're looking at it just as you've taken it out or after you've taken it out and had a fiddle.
Either way.
Yeah. But Mark, you definitely recommend this. As that I've kind of seen it, but I've wanted to hear a personal take on it because, as said, my new Grand Seiko, the winder is just so tiny on it, and for having a 3-day winding movement, I mean, my fingers get tired by the time I'm doing the thing. So I said I'd be kind of tempted to get one of these.
To be fair, this has been on my Christmas or birthday list for a while, and I've never pulled the trigger. But I'm getting very close to pulling the trigger myself because I'm getting sick and tired of winding Speedmasters.
Yeah, it's great if you've got arthritis or something, or you've lost dexterity in your hands as well.
Yeah,
I tell you, it'll be good for if you speak to a lot of watchmakers, the number of crown pins that get broken because people just put their thumb or their finger on the back side of the crown and wind it by pushing it up the way and winding it, but it loads it up at a really strange angle, whereas that will just hold it straight, so it won't load up the crown in the same way.
But it's not going to be a cure for a SW200 reverser gear issue.
No, it's not.
Okay, next up, Target Europe with your eyelash curler, I think it is.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I didn't know I needed one of these until I got, this is the last Hamilton in my collection right now. And sometimes the Hamilton watches, you don't realize it when you buy it, but to change it out, it's really tight in here. And from the factory, these spring bars are bent. But then if you want to try to put on a different watch strap, you're kind of stuck because you can't get their spring bar to fit in that. So this tool, as silly as it is, not very expensive, and you can take any spring bar and just give it a little crimp, and now it'll fit in. And I'm sure Hamilton's not the only watch brand out there that's doing these with the really close lugs like that. But such a handy tool to have because now unlimited bent or curved spring bars now.
I'm going to buy one of those. I think that's a great tool. I experienced exactly what you're talking about with one of my recent watches. I wanted to change out the strap. The strap came with a obviously what do you call it, quick release spring bar, and it's mounted so close to the case that you can't get any other band in there unless you've got a curved spring bar.
Yep.
So I'm going to get one of those.
It's a great tool, and it's just when you come across that situation, you're like, oh well, I can fix that in just a second, as opposed to when I got a special order some spring bars from someplace. It's great.
Yeah, really cool, really cool. So Steve couldn't join us, but he sent in some good picks actually. So I'm totally gonna use some of his picks. So Steve, if you're watching this is a really good one. This is a pin removal tool. So it will remove the friction pins, and it will also remove the pins that have collars as well. Are they called copper pins or something? But yes. That's right. I always get that wrong. So this is a really, you can get them. Sometimes you get a free plastic one and they're a bit crap, but these ones are really good. I use this quite a bit. I did a video on resizing Invicta Pro Diver Bracelet, which 350,000 people know me as the guy who did a video on. But yeah, really good. They work really well. They push the pins out. Vital if you want to change the pins yourself, and you can also use the metal bit at the top to push the pin back in, kind of pressing it down. But yeah, these are really useful, especially with the replacement tips as well, because sometimes you can bend them.
I've used one of those multiple times. I love it. I've never gotten the little disc to really raise to a level that was any effectiveness to me.
Yes.
But I mean, you just fiddle with it, but it is a wonderful tool.
Yeah, somebody actually asked me a question, about
once I realized these existed versus the old hammer and mallet on a block.
Yeah.
I never liked the idea of taking my nice watch and being like smack, 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 smack. This is a lot more satisfying to the soul.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you see some of the brand ones, though, Seiko do one specifically. They do a different one for each bracelet that they do. It's just a little tool, and you just lay the bracelet in, you just press a button, dong, and it just fires the pin out. They're absolutely epic, albeit about 500 quid ago.
Oh.
They sell them to the public, or is it just for a service if you're a service tech?
They are technically trade tools, but you can buy them if you want them.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well,
yeah,
there you go.
I mean, on the basis that if you've got one and it's £500, it's probably more than the Seiko 5 cost you. But if you're doing hundreds of them, it kind of stacks up.
If you're Dave, it fits along well with your loop, so you're good.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I deny that I have some.
But not plausibly.
And Pete, your one and only is the. I picked an awful picture just to take the mick, but go on.
Yeah,
3.5.
Yeah, so this is like the opposite end of what Dave suggested. And by the way, I completely agree with Dave. If you're going to go for a loop, spend up big and get yourself something really good, because if you're going to get that close, you want to see it well. But what I find is you're always wanting to do I'm often wanting to get closer to my watch, just quick and dirty. I want to be able to get a slightly better view of the spring bar if I'm doing a change. I want to be able to get a slightly better view of the bracelet if I'm resizing it. If I'm going out to something like a red bar or something like that, where it's going to be really crowded, people are going to be passing watches around, you want to get you want to be able to see sort of some of the details. I personally don't go anywhere, and it's part of my EDC. I carry it everywhere I go, a set of really cheap, bought from the pharmacy, 3.5 by reading glasses that just give you that instant magnification no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing. If you leave them on the table at the red bar as you go home, you don't care. You can pick up another set later. The one thing I'd suggest, if you want to go back to the me screen, is if they are just like reading glasses, I always put some sort of tape around them so that it's very clear they are not my everyday glasses. If you pick one up and try and wear it and just get on with your daily life, you'll end up with a headache really fast.
Yeah.
So they even come in even my container has little red bars. This is not your normal reading glass. But that is my one and only indispensable. Will not play with watches without tool.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I reckon I'd use it 3 or 4 times a day.
Wow. Yeah, good pick. Dave, we're back around to you, and this is the Bergeron watch bracelet pliers.
Yeah, if you're going to mess about with bracelets, especially bracelets, not so much straps, but if you're going to mess about with bracelets, especially if they've got a fitted end link, do yourself a favour and do your watch a favour and buy a set of pliers. It doesn't need to be these Bergeron ones. It can be, any. It can just be the basic kind of tweezer style ones if you want. But if you're going to do it regularly, get a decent set, because it will save you considerable strife, grief, swearing and damaging of lugs and of bracelets. So these do work an absolute treat, and it just, once you get used to using them, once you've done it a few times, suddenly changing a bracelet goes from psych myself up for 5 or 6 hours, decide how you're going to cut your wrist once you've damaged your watch. It becomes a 10-second job literally to change it over. And the one thing I'd say to get with this, if you're going to change your bracelets, is get a proper watch head pad. Don't just think, that pillow or that cushion or that bit of cloth will do the trick. Get a nice little raised pad that just stops the watch head slipping about, and you can bosh bracelets in and out literally in seconds with this, and it just works an absolute treat.
Yeah, especially on like the Rolexes and stuff where they have a lip so that the end link fits into the lip, and they're a nightmare to get off. I've got the Bergeron, the tweezer ones, but I think these are a better shout. And you're right that there is different. You can buy them at different price categories, can't you? But
the only issue with the kind of tweezer pliery style ones is they're fine, they do the job, but obviously when they're at rest, they've got a given width, and if that width's wider than the bracelet is, which it inevitably always is, if you lift it up and you let it go and they go twang and they open, right across the back of the lugs, which then does end up in tears. Whereas with this one, you can set it exactly with the thumb screws to the maximum width of the lugs, so it just physically can't damage the lug.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're selling me on it. I've been thinking about some of those.
These are amazing, and honestly, if you mess about with bracelets a lot, buy the good Bergeron ones, because it's not actually so much the body of them, but see the actual quality of the fork ends, the little fork tools on them. That's the bit you're paying for, because they're hardened, they're tough, they don't snap off, they don't mar up and chew, and they actually grip the spring bars properly, but they work a treat.
Yeah, I bought a cheapo pair of these, and you're right, bent the ends straight away. Yeah.
And it does take a bit of knack, like these things always, I think someone in the comments has said, he can't quite get his head around it or get them to use them. There is a knack to it, but it's also just things like the little fork ends, they're sided as well, so you have to make sure they're the right way round and all sorts of things, and you have to turn them round depending on what kind of spring bar you've got. So it's like anything, but once you've mastered them, they're an absolute treat to use.
Yeah, this is a great one. Next up is along that similar vein is regardless of what tool I have, I always inevitably will scratch the back of lugs. So I can't take credit for finding this. It was actually John at Tea and Tickers. It's high temperature tape that's used for electronics. It's this tape here. And this is an absolute game changer because what you do is you can apply it to the watch and it doesn't leave any residue. So if you see here, what I've done is I put it over the back of the lug here, and you can use your nail to fit it. It's sort of pliable, and once you fitted it around the front, it fits right to the case, and then you can remove the spring bars and it won't scratch it, and it doesn't leave any residue. It's like a post-it note in the fact that it doesn't leave any glue or any sticky. And also it's clear so that you can actually see the lug as well. Because I used to use painter's tape, but you can't judge it obviously can't see through it. But this is an absolute game changer. And the rolls you get like 2 for $8 or something. Yeah, absolutely awesome. This tape.
It's like gaff tape for.
Yeah, I think they use it for electronics.
Okay.
It's like a heat-resistant tape. To stop.
Yeah, it's a tape. It's a tape they use to like tape down wires and stuff on the inside of computers and stuff like that. They get really warm and stop it coming off. But you can actually get a thing called watchmaker's tape, which is essentially exactly the same stuff, but add like 4 zeros on the end of it, and then print made in Switzerland on the inside, and you're all good.
Yeah,
that's the one Dave
come with a
buys.
Swiss-made label.
And if you don't use that actual one, Rolex will invalidate your warranty.
Yeah, I've even used it when I've been reviewing watches as well. I've put it over the buckle, so I've not scratched the Christopher Ward or whatever that I've been borrowing. I've put it over the actual clasp as well. Yeah, absolute game changer for me because I definitely used to scratch the back of lugs no matter how careful I was. So next up then, Patrick, we are going in with this is the next one. This is a watch box, also with a valet tray at the bottom.
Yeah, this is my most recent watch storage purchase. So the episode I made like 2 or 3 episodes ago was the state of the collection, and I'd been waiting for this brand, this Home and Hadfield, to make the little leatherette covers for the base. So I guess for all their other boxes, they've always had the little leatherette things that go down at the bottom. And of course, I don't want to put my watch on just a slab of wood. So when they finally made the leather, I bought that, and it finally gave me an excuse to do my state of the collection. And the reason I bought it was because I've always had a little wall of winders, which, hint, hint, coming up soon. But I have a whole bunch of hand-wound movements now. And so I don't need a winder for it. So I just needed something where I can put some hand-wound movements. And I just saw this actually on Instagram of all places, and I said, that's kind of nice. And I mean, it's $200, so it's probably a little overpriced, but I mean, the quality is actually pretty nice, and it's pretty compact for what it is, and it's got a little storage drawer, so now that's where I put my watch tools. So it just kind of cleaned up my little area of wristwatches. So, I mean, I can't say anything bad about it. It's got a little acrylic top, so everything stays dust-proof, and it's just a really nice little watch / doodad tray. So if you're a dude who's got his wife only lets him have one little area of a tabletop like mine, this cleans up your tabletop.
I think you're
You've
lucky
just
to get
gained-
that much space.
Yeah. You've also just gained 10 extra points for the use of the word doodad.
But yeah, I said it's a great little something. I mean, I know you can buy them on Amazon.com and all that. So it's just a nice little watch box for anyone who's looking for, a non-winding watch box.
That's really cool. Is the base of it, is that padded or is it leather?
Well, that's on their pictures there they don't, but yes, they include a little leather pad, and that's what I was waiting for because I actually bought the box maybe 6 months ago, but they kept saying, "Oh, pad coming soon," and it took them about 6 months to finally, I guess, get their company to make it. But yeah, there's a little leather pad to each drawer and each shelf that, it's custom fit for it. So it just cleans it up a little bit better. And as I said, then you're not putting your watch on bare wood. But yeah,
That's really cool. For a couple of $100, actually, that strikes me as pretty
very
good
nice.
value,
That's
to be
a
honest.
good find.
Yeah, that's good value for me. Looks nicely
yeah,
made.
I said, and I mean, it's really nice. They make it in the black and they make it in that sort of cherry brownish wood. And, I did the brown and, said I've got no complaints. It's pretty nice.
Pretty funky, that.
Yeah, it does look cool. It looks really cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up, we've got Mark. I picked another plug for Christopher Ward, but this is to illustrate
My point. I am terrible with tools. I don't want to use them. They don't want me to use them. So I think one of the greatest advances in the user experience for watches is quick release straps and bracelets. Christopher Ward, they weren't the first, but they've done it across their range. Their quick release bracelets work like a charm. And if you've got a big enough spring bar, particularly for the straps, they work very well and are very secure. So I love quick release straps and bracelets. I don't like tools, and I do like quick release stuff. It just works like a charm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no disagreement from me. And the
Totally.
Christopher Ward even have it on their bracelets, which is awesome.
It works wonderfully on the bracelets too. It just goes on like a dream.
Yep.
And there's I'm not trying to plug, but for people who are shopping, I get a lot of straps from strapsco.com, and a ton of their straps are all already quick release as well.
I mean, there was when these started to be popular, one of the watch websites that sells straps was saying, "Oh, I don't trust quick release. You don't want quick release." And the cynic in me said, "Well, you don't sell anything with quick release, do you?" Because they do make a big difference. If you're an occasional changer of straps and bracelets, or even a compulsive changer of straps and bracelets, these just make your life so much easier.
Yeah.
Oh, on the new Zodiac that I bought several months ago, I was planning on removing it from the bracelet immediately anyway, but it has a DLC coating, so I was kind of worried. I'm like, oh crap, now I really have to worry about not scratching things. And I didn't even realize in my first review that it had quick release straps. It wasn't until I did the video on the swap change that I was like, oh wow, this thing has quick release straps on the bracelet. And as you said, Mark, I mean I had pulled out all my tools, but it turned into a 15-second ordeal. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
I mean,
great, done.
Changing a titanium or stainless steel strap, on a Christopher Ward, it's just a dream. It's so easy.
Mm-hmm.
It's so easy, even I can do it, and it's got to be foolproof in that case, because I really am not good with tools.
Well, Mark,
like
I'm
an
quoted on their
infomercial.
website. Yeah, I'm quoted on their website, so maybe you'll get that. Maybe we'll have Mike quote you on the website. But yeah, this Sega design has the old quick release there, the little thing there. Okay, next up, this is a good one. Todd, this is your demagnetizer.
It is so worth just another one of those, like just the crimper. Having one of these in your toolbox, especially if you're a guy who likes to trade and swap a lot. I had this already, and I had gotten a 90s Tag Aqua Racer, and it was running super fast. And I was like, well, before I take it to my watchmaker, let me just see. And in a matter of 2 minutes, we're back at like a normal, running perfectly again. Wonderful tool to have, and like it was $11, $12. It's wonderful to have handy.
Yeah, I actually. So we've talked about a lot of really expensive tools here, and this is the one thing that I invested a decent amount of money in, and this was like a professional watch demagnetizer. So I'll put myself on solo so everyone can see it. But
wow, look at that thing!
He's not messing around.
Yeah, it's made by Elmer. And look at that, it's got like a mains plug to it. And you essentially put the watch on it and you press this button and it clicks and that's it, it's done it. So in like a split second, it'll demagnetize the watch. Look at the size of that thing. This is incredible. I think it was expensive. Maybe it was like $170 or something, but just to have it, You just do it front and then back, and it's got the target where to put the watch. But yeah, you're right. Especially Seiko's quite bad for getting demagnetized.
Oh, yeah.
Mechanicals, of course. Obviously, anybody who's got a collection of Omegas or Rolexes doesn't have to necessarily worry about demagnetizing their watches. But yeah, it's
Sure.
definitely.
Well, it's
Any of
funny.
those-
I just demagnetized my first watch ever. My ceramic GP. I guess in the mail it must have gotten magnetized because when I got it, I pretty much wore it for a couple days, and I'm like, this thing is insanely fast. And then I timed it, and yeah, it was about 40 seconds a day. And I said, oh yeah, this thing's magnetized. And I bought the upgraded version of yours, Todd. I got the one that's got the donut, so it's like the little magnetizing donut you
Oh.
can put in, so it costs like $20. And
Yeah.
ran it through there about 3 times and tried it out for the next week, and now it's keeping, within 2 seconds a day. I'm like, easy fix.
Yeah, it's a wonderful tool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I like this one. You can press a button because on the one that you've got, Todd, it's you kind of like raising the spirits. It's like a Ouija board, isn't it? That you have to.
Well, it's
hover
got,
the
yeah,
button.
but it's got a button. I don't really understand. I mean, yeah, it is. It's a little Ouija boardy. Trying to and then you pull it away as you do it. But once you get a hang of it, it takes just moments.
Yeah, and Pete, this must be an essential for you with the vintage collection, demagnetizer.
Sort of. I do have one. I don't use it a lot. If I'm going to wear a vintage watch, I pull it out in the morning, I set it, I wear it for the day, I put it away, and I see it again in a month. So I don't bother tracking timing. If towards the end of the day I'm finding myself a couple of minutes early or late, I might care about it. But apart from that, accuracy, smaccuracy. That's what my phone's for.
Oh,
Here.
oh no, I'm such an accuracy like OCD about it. I could the demagnetizer is definitely high on my list.
Yeah, the idea of accuracy is just like a very strange notion for me. I mean, if you really care about accuracy, just buy quartz.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Pete, I completely agree with you, except if you put your watches on a winder. Because if you put your watches on a winder, at least some of your automatics, and you've got that 40 seconds, that's what I noticed. Because 3 days later, I'm like, this thing's like 5 minutes fast. I'm like, what the? And that's when you sort of sort it out. So you're right. If you put it into a big rotation and you're barely wearing it, and you're not going to notice the difference in a day. But yeah, you'll notice the difference in a week.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that's the difference. Yeah, if it's a watch you're buying and you intend to wear it all week long, it's a different conversation totally.
Yeah,
absolutely.
God, if I buy a new watch and I wear it all day long, I'm actually pretty happy with it.
Oh man,
It wouldn't be the first watch I put on and not bother to even set the time.
It is really embarrassing when you go to tell someone the time and you realize you didn't set it.
Yep, done that before.
it's just a bracelet now. It's just a bracelet.
It's only been mechanical watches have just been jewelry since 1969.
Awesome. We've got if this is really you, sir, if this is really Jean-Claude Beaver, please, you could come on the show anytime you like. Drop us a
Spelling mistake in the name then.
Reviewer. It's slightly different spelling, is it?
No.
Yeah, that's not the right spelling, but it's a good attempt.
That's his YouTube name.
He's building dams.
Yeah.
Jean-Claude is well known in the community.
Oh, is he?
I'm pretty sure he's another Melbourne boy.
Oh, there you go. Okay, next up, I think this is your last one, Dave, and this is an impressive set of screwdrivers. This is the Bergeron set.
Don't buy cheap screwdrivers. Do yourself a favor. If you're going to use screwdrivers, either buy really good screwdrivers and know what you're doing with them, or just don't. Just don't. Mm-hmm. Because the number, especially on bracelets, the number of times I've had friends or other folk go, "Oh, I tried to resize my bracelet, but I'm stuck. Can you do it for me?" And then I get out my nice loop and I look at the non-existent head of the screw that now exists. And I was like, oh, here we go. And sometimes you can get them out, but more often than not, it's like you better be buying yourself some new links because you need to cut it out before and after wherever you've damaged the screws. And a lot of these little captive screws now on bracelets, if you chew the head of it, yep, you're in trouble trying to get that out after that. But I've got these are absolutely unbelievably. These have got especially hardened tips in them, so it's hard to actually kind of damage the tips of the screwdrivers. And I've also got the torque collars for them as well. So you can get, I've got a set of individual torque collars. You can put collars can slide up the handle, and as long as you're holding it, the little collets are from 0.1 Newton meters through to 10 Newton meters, so you can actually torque the screws properly, and you've got reversers on them that allow you to unscrew them without damaging the torque ratings on the screwdrivers as well. So they're unbelievably good. And I did think a couple of times before I actually got these, but the quality of them is unbelievable.
I second that. I've got a pair of Bergeon screwdrivers, but my wife wouldn't let me buy the fancy holder kit because that's like $150 more than the pair without it. So mine just cover in a plastic sleeve. But yeah, they're absolutely wonderful screwdrivers.
And I'm not going to say necessarily go buy the $500-600 set. To be fair, buy a nice set of well-branded ones, like the decent Bergeon home screwdrivers, which I think are $70 maybe for a set, something like that for the entry-level ones. The only real difference with them is they've got, you know, partially plastic bits at the tops of the handles rather than being all metal and stuff. But the important bit is the blade and the main bit that holds it. As long as you get decent ones of them, you're on to a winner. But yeah, screwdrivers. Everything I've ever done in life that involves a screwdriver, I've spent serious money on screwdrivers, because use a cheap screwdriver on an expensive bit of kit and you've got a shitty broken bit of expensive kit.
Yeah, I must admit, being in the Air Force and messing around with Air Force tools makes you a real tool snob.
Yep.
When you've got, you know, as Dave said, you know, properly hardened tool tips that don't slip, don't burr, don't bend. When you've got really nice ergonomically designed handles, it's hard to go back to sort of cheap hard-edged Chinese handles. I don't own a lot of tools anymore because I just can't afford to buy the ones I want to use. I'd rather not do it.
And I'm exactly the same. It's like I've got a lot of, you know, like for other parts of work outside of watches, I've got some good tools, but I'm exactly the same. It's like get the best tool you can possibly afford. And if you think the tool you can afford is not good enough, just don't do it. Get someone else to do it, or borrow the tool if you can. Just it will save you infinite amounts of grief and heartache at some point.
Yeah, in fact, when my grandfather passed away a couple of years ago, he had a shed full of what we assumed were specialist tools, but we had no way of working out what they were. Car mechanics tools. Unfortunately, a lot of them we either had to get rid of or they went at a car boot sale. But I bet you if they'd been properly researched, I think some of them would have been specialist tools from years ago that just aren't available now. So absolutely. Next, my last one, and it's a shameless plug for the sponsor of this show, but it is my Man Cave leather. They sent me this. He makes this real leather pouch. I'll just show it for a second, but I keep my Rolex in it, and it smells great. It kind of molds around the watch as well because it's real leather, and then inside it's got the little bumper piece as well, so it doesn't. He just does an amazing job of these. Hand makes them. Mikola's originally from Ukraine, but he's now in Canada, so he's hand making these pouches. $90. They're absolutely awesome. The smell alone, and you can get them in different colors, and his watch straps as well are awesome as well. So a big shout out to the sponsor of this show, Man Cave Leather. And Patrick, he just recently made you a strap.
I'll second on the smell. So when he made me a little trench watch strap for a little trench watch, and when I opened up the little box, all of a sudden I'm just like, oh my god, this smells so good. I ran over and had my wife smell it. I'm like, this is both best smelling leather ever. But yeah, super customer service. As I said, I gave him every dimension and every statistic of what the little strap needed to be, and he knocked it out in less than a week. So as I said, that's pretty good customer service.
Yeah, absolutely. Next up, Patrick, this is yours, and you'll have to explain this one, but this is the University of Florida is a tool.
No, where's my Chiyoda? So I guess this is Sam wanted me to say something about metallurgy, and I'm like, I don't have anything about metallurgy except for my background in chemistry and my love of Wikipedia. But obviously, if you guys see me on here or see me on my channel, I always talk about weird metals, and like I like watches that have odd things. But I don't know what I'm supposed to say with that now. But the idea would be,
I had to put it up there because this is where you got your chemistry degree, which you use for your where you spurned your love of metals, I think. But we've definitely got your proper one, which is
there it is.
Yeah.
So if I had to pick one thing that I love more than anything else, it is this little Chiyoda winder. And Chiyoda, if you want to come sponsor me, I will sing your praises for forever, because I have 3 of these,
Oh,
and
wow.
I've yet to have any fail on me, because I used to get a different winder here and there, and I would always have one on the inside turn, and I did my own little research on it, and I guess it's like a Mabuchi is a Japanese motor that a lot of the brands use, and it's probably one of the better ones. And of course, you could put it in a $1,200 Wolf winder and have an individual box, or you can get a 6-watch winder for, and I think they might have even upped their prices lately, because I think it was like $300 before. I mean, it really was just beyond bargain, prices. And you can buy a single for 50, you can buy a double for like 200, and they really just make a really nice quality winder. And you can set it for being bidirectional or unidirectional, and set your timing on there. And I learned that just the other day, because I realized that my new GP had stopped, and I was like, why did it stop? And then I Googled, and I found out that, oh, it's a unidirectional winder, and I had it set on bidirectional. So I guess over the week it lost all of its juice. And so every other watch I have is a bidirectional. But the idea is, it's just a great little winder, and nice wood case, nice not glass, but like plexiglass front. So once again, dust proof, and as I said, a lot of bang for the buck. And I'm all about something looking pretty and not having to pay a lot of money for it.
I've never got into watch winders. I don't know. Yeah, I've never owned one. So, does anybody else own one? Watch winder?
I do.
I quit
I
using
have,
it.
I have a couple of the Wolf individual ones.
Yeah.
It's a heated debate in the world of watches. People love to either say that, having your watch on a winder is going to do excessive wear and tear. And I always use the analogy of, it's no different than if I wore my watch every day. So if, I wear my watch, it's the same as if it being on a winder. And it's actually being worn less on a winder than if I actually did wear the watch, because it's mathematically, computated so that it does its 650 revolutions a day, which is a heck of a lot less than if I'm wearing my watch and just dancing. So as I said, I'm all about it, particularly if I've got a watch with complications. So if I've got an annual calendar or a moon phase, or even if you've got your beloved date, Sam, and you don't want to constantly be resetting it, I think a winder's great. But you're right. If you've got a relatively simple movement that doesn't have any, functionality, any date, that wouldn't be a watch that necessarily needs to go on a winder. But as I said, if it's got something that's going to take me 2 or 3 minutes to like set before I can go off to work, I don't have time for that.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Mark, we're on your last one, and there had to be one of these on the list. I've got mixed feelings about these, but they are definitely a useful tool, and that is a time grapher, and this is the Weshi time grapher here.
Well, they've got more expensive over time.
They have.
I have one. I don't use it very often, but if I'm curious about the timekeeping of a watch, or I have a watch that seems to be getting worse, I will actually put it on the time grapher just in one position. And if I wear it 2 or 3 months later and the time has got significantly worse, I know it's time for that little one to go and be serviced, or at least reset. I did it with an Oris recently, Then I've had a couple of watches under warranty that were supposed to be COSC, and no way were they COSC in any position, so they were going back as well. But yeah, very occasional use. I don't pretend to know what all the displays mean. I really only use it to check the time. But for those that are much more interested in how a watch works, very good for quick, simple diagnosis and just nerdish curiosity as well. You've got to admit, it's like fascinating to see that display change over time.
Yeah, I did have one of these. I actually had this one, and Jason from Watch, I sold it to in an auction, and Jason from Watch Rolling wore it because I'm so OCD about the accuracy of my watches. I had to get rid of it because I couldn't. It was because of the anxiety. Because of the anxiety of putting it on there and knowing. Because I when I first bought one, I put my Speedmaster on, and I was blissfully, wearing my Speedmaster every day. And then it came up, and the readings were all over the place. So I sent a picture to Josh Wolf at Wolf Vintage Watches, who does vintage Hamilton watches, restoring. And as soon as he saw it, it's like, that needs to be serviced like straight away. And I was like, oh no. So yeah, it's not worth it. It's such a good tool, but for me, it's not worth the anxiety of having one. But does anybody else have enough about me? Does anybody else have a time grapher?
Yes, I do, and I kind of use it in exactly the opposite way to Mark. I don't really care about the timing. I don't really look at that. I just want to see, for vintage watches, I just want to see, am I getting broadly straight lines? Is everything kind of playing nicely? Is my amplitude basically where I expect it to be? If it's okay, if it's all staying inside the lines, then the service guy does not get another $400 from me. But as soon as it turns into it looks like it's snowing on the screen and the lines are just going all over the place, then yeah, I'm back down to the service guy. I'm sticking with the aircraft theme. I go for on-condition maintenance of my watches. I can't afford to do them on time-based.
Yeah.
And I just use that. This is a diagnostic tool. It tells you when things are going.
I'm exactly the same. I use it as a diagnostics tool. It's like I don't overly care about a few seconds here or there. It's like whatever. It's like the way I look at it is if it's broadly telling the accurate time and it's out by, I don't know, even 10 seconds more than it should be, that doesn't overly bother me. If everything else is pretty clean, fine, because next time it gets serviced, it'll get regulated and it'll be fine. So it's like that doesn't bother me. I don't get OCD about that.
Yeah, no, for me, it's the worst Atari game that was ever made. Especially the snowflakes. Well, last one up here. This is one from Steve, but this is something that I definitely use, and it's crucial if you've got a Hesalite or acrylic or something like that. And this is well, Steve actually had this Novus plastic polish, but I've also used this Poly Watch, which is a very fine plastic polish. So if you've got acrylic crystal like the original Speedmasters had, some of the like Laurier and a few other brands, you can actually get out a lot of the fine scratches on plastic with this plastic polish. You can also do it with Brasso or Silvo as well, which I've used in the past. But has anybody else used Polywatch?
I used it recently on a vintage Omega that I had, and it worked really well.
It's really good, and if you ever need to get your hands on some, visit a Swatch store, as long as you own a Swatch, and tell them you've got some scratches, and they'll hand you a tube.
Nice.
Really? Oh, that's a top tip.
Yeah.
Also, if you have any Swatch watches and the batteries have run out, visit a Swatch shop, and they'll give you a battery for nothing.
Yeah, because I actually looked into this because I've got a Swatch that I'm going to keep for the future, and I wondered whether to keep the battery in it or not, and somebody said definitely keep it in because Swatch will swap it over as well. But yeah, Polywatch
lifetime batteries.
Yeah, that's great. Fossil used to do that back in the day, didn't they? But yeah, that's a really cool thing. And the Polywatch also. I mean, I've said Swatch obviously is a great one. The Speedmasters, CWC watches, some of the old military ones, and then as you said, Todd, some of those vintage Omegas. A lot of watches had acrylic.
Yeah, and actually still to this day, most of the youngins as well. Most youngins, Max Bills, have still got a Hesselite crystal in them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And
Sapphire's an option on youngins.
No, wow. No, I didn't know
I'll
that.
have to pick some of that up. There's a whole bunch of pocket watch crystals out there that are old acrylics, and I prefer the glass, but some that have the acrylic, they just get those fine scratches from being in someone's pocket for 100 years, and if I can buff some of that out, that'd be great.
Yeah, it's good for sunglasses as well if you've got the plastic lens sunglasses.
Sam, I'm mad at you. This stream is going to cost me money. I might have to buy a watch winding tool, some poly watch, and maybe my OCD will even buy me a watch timer or a time grapher.
Yeah, and also that poly watch.
I'll sell you one at a discount if you like, Patrick.
If you've got a really deep scratch on an acrylic as well, the poly watch, obviously it won't get it out, but it will diminish it massively.
It takes the square edge off of any grooves and just gives it a nice little round edge so that the light doesn't catch it.
Yeah, 100%. Well, that was awesome. Yeah, that was a great show. I'll leave the link, probably be tomorrow now, but I'll leave the links to everything that we discussed in the description in the down below on the YouTubes. Thank you everyone for joining me. That was a really cool show. Very much appreciated. Thanks everyone in the comments section for watching, and we'll see you next time on Casual Watch Talk. Thanks everyone. Bye.
Good night, everybody.